Well, the idea of a myth, it's really central to understand what a myth is. It's not mythical in that trivial sense. It means you're expressing something in a way to try to express it so that some element can be captured in a imaginative way that contains some truth but cannot be taken literally. That's what mythical. That contains within itself certain archetypal expressions of the ideas represented. Now, this whole development of scholarship is nothing other than Christian scholarship turning upon itself and trying to purify itself. They went through a long period, when they went through the quest for trying to discover the earliest text to get the most reliable text for translations. They gave that up when they found that the text dated 350 already had in it codes, 3 dots representing what is added or doubted and suspect. They already had established ways of dealing with the material, which indicated very clearly that interpretation was a part and parcel of the entire operation. And therefore, when some copyist had 3 dots along the margin, that meant he thought this phrase, bounded by 2 sets of 3 dots, is doubtful. Then you follow copies that were copied from that, and that passage may be dropped out. Or other signs to indicate there's something that needs to be added, and someone later adds it. So therefore, the earliest text they found have put an end to that quest, because that too is no longer tenable. That is, say, what does that mean? That means that Christianity, strangely enough, from the earliest days, is a man-made religion. Out of his own being, he created it. Given this as its body of legitimate material. The rest has been added by history, church doctrine. Very interesting, very interesting. How will this be taught? This doesn't come out of Pierre. I'm just reporting what is available today in the best books.
You went over the dual tradition quite rapidly. Could you put more words on the people that were in both lines and why they thought they were existing at the same time?
I have a list. They had alongside of Moses and the early Pentateuch works and the prophets, parallel, Zoroaster, Mercurius, Trismegistus, Orpheus, Aglaophamus, Pythagoras, Philolaus, Plato, step by step by step, who they then matched then with people who on the Old Testament side could match up, which they thought were contemporaneous. This was accepted by all the church fathers from the 2nd century on. It's Lactantius, you can see it in the 3rd century. St. Augustine, you can see it in the 4th century. They all accepted this view. Therefore, they can incorporate it. And the most recent thinking is that it was consciously done to make Christianity available to the Gentiles by showing the kinship of their thought with Hellenistic thought. The irony is, therefore, when it was rejected, they dropped the very thing that was used to bring in the Gentiles. Yeah.
Could we go back to that individual in the current moment of time in interpreting the spiral of his past?
Yes. Matter of fact, it's in a book I know on page 42.
My question is, we're dealing with our dreams, and our dreams, I guess, are something to do with our, basically our past, isn't it? Maybe I shouldn't even talk about that. Well,
sure.
Let me just go back.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at my past is inherent in my consciousness. I'm looking at my program, right? And I'm interpreting it in the current moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I might be totally aware of that spiral all the way back to the beginning, or I might have parts of it missing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if we were looking at when we were dreams
Mhm.
in the past, somehow or another, some of my dreams have kicked in some of that
Mhm.
software that I've been missing. And I think we made an assumption that if all of a sudden we became aware of that, those little subroutines, it would sort of break us loose from that vision of the past.
No. If I make sure I capture your thought. When we have a dream, the material of our past is utilized in the dream. We then have the dream with these elements in it, and then we interpret it. We interpret that, ignore it or interpret it, within our understanding that is developed up to this point. Now, but see, what's interesting about that way is that that will only perpetuate whatever the principles of interpretation are being employed. That's what will interpret, that's what will continue.
Okay.
The whole goal of dream analysis is to see it for itself and see whether the dream itself presents us with a drama which is similar to, which is also enacted in our present, which gives us a history of our past unresolved conflicts,
Embedded in the present.
which are embedded, okay, embedded in one sense, but it's not embedded in that other sense.
Oh, sorry, I interrupted.
Yeah, it presupposes that you would then project into it using another language. But the whole goal of dream interpretation is not to do this, is not to just interpret in terms of what your past have you been thinking, but rather try to discover what particular drama is being unfolded in the dream, look for parallels to each of the signs and the symbols in the dream, so that you can reconstruct what may be the language of the dream. Now this is the course, as we know. This takes time, this takes effort, takes practice, and then you want to see to what degree the present and your difficulties in the present are like the dream, and therefore if the dream is telling you something you need to know that you've overlooked.
Okay. Something I've overlooked in the past.
And that won't come out with the interpretation game. Because the interpretation game, usually you're satisfied by projecting into a dream whatever it is you have already considered.
Well, so I'm just keeping the program I've had.
Yeah.
So if I get aware of the what is it? What was the word you used on it? If something was missing out of the past that I wasn't aware of.
Yes.
It's a tragedy.
Yes.
I get it in the dream.
Absolutely right.
Then I would feed it back.
That's
Then I
right.
would feed it into the current moment, and I start changing my software. Or something?
That's right. That's right. From what we play with in dream analysis is that invariably there are things in your past that you never did understand and have not articulated. Among these, let us say this one is the unarticulated, half-articulated view of something significant to yourself about the nature of yourself or reality, and that's playing a role in the dream. You can't interpret it. You have to discover what it is. You have to decipher it.
It's also playing a role in my current
Yes.
interpretation, right?
Yes.
So if I get to the dream, if I get back there and modify it or find it or keep it out or evolve it, with my programming in the current moment will by nature.
That's right. That's right. Right. Yeah. That's right. Condensed as we made it. Yes.
This is a better spin on it, because in the past it always sounded like if I got in touch with that significant event, that all of a sudden it would evaporate. It really doesn't evaporate. It just maybe.